All right, it takes a special kind of idiot to have something like this. This would be the dumb schmuck washing machine system here. And we just picked this particular, you gotta have your exhaust for your washing machine outside. Just pick this piece of equipment up. It gets your clothes really clean, I guess. Looks like it might need some cleaning itself. All right, so what we got here, and I went through some of the stuff on the inside. It looks like this is a March 1934 engine, and I was told this is a 1931 washing machine, and haven't learned anything about the washing machine yet, part of it, but into getting the engines going. So we've got an open and close. This is for the gas or the carburetor. This one seems to like it at about 3/4 over. The gas tank is right here. It takes mixed gas. It's a 2-stroke engine. And then it's belt driven from the engine up to the gearbox, which I haven't checked any of the fluids or any of these yet. So we'll see if we can get it started. See if I can try to choke it maybe when I'm starting it here. So you gotta let your wash machine warm up. Then you got a gearbox here, on and off. So you gotta put it in gear. See, now it starts washing. See, and then you got this thing over here. Put this in on. See, that rolls this. So there's a serial number here, 64211B. I'll do some checking to see what year that turns out to be. But that's pretty much it. We got the engine going. I went through the flywheel here. There's ignition points in there. And I've got another, being a dumb schmuck, we have a spare engine for this thing, just in case you're in the middle of washing your clothes and it takes a dump on you. We got another spare engine. So I'll pull the cover off that one to show you guys what we look at inside of there. But that's pretty much it for our brand new washing machine. Okay, apparently we're gonna floss quick. All right. So as far as I can tell, this is an older engine. According to the serial number, it's like July, August, September of 1929. So this is older. I believe this would have been used on prior to this is a Model 30 or a Model 31 washing machine. And according to the quick check I could do on the Maytag online thing, this was built from 1933 to 1937. So this engine wasn't off of one of these machines, but it looks to me like it's the same. You're very distracting here. We're trying to do a very informative Maytag engine running video. Pulled the pulley off, and then I took the flywheel out. And then you can also get at it through here, but I want to just see if I can pull this one off too. So let me get you guys set up. So I'm going to attempt to do is get this flywheel off of here. And the way I did it on the other one, this one, don't know if it's ever been off. So you find some random wrench that doesn't have any markings at all on it. That's probably the right one. So it doesn't say anywhere on it what size it is or what brand it is. So this is definitely the right wrench. And probably got to find some way to hold this thing. There you go. All right, so you can do it that way. think there's supposed to be a key on the end of here as well. Cotter key, but not seeing it on this one. Alright, so let me put this back on. Get it so it's just about flush. It is a castle nut, I don't want to wreck it. This one isn't going to go back to flush. Anyway, so we'll leave it. I've got it about, I don't know, let's just say a couple threads off here. Just want to see if I can get this flywheel to move. So what I did on the last one, get you guys set up here again, is I had a piece of brass. Let me go grab it. So what you want to do is you want to get something behind the flywheel so you can see the part that moves here. But it's also a cooling fan, so you don't want to do anything silly like break off the cooling fan. But if I get something behind here and just get a little bit of pressure on the flywheel, then I'm going to take I guess you can get some sort of a puller. I don't have one. So if you get you guys back in focus here. See if I can get you guys back in focus. There you go. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on it. What I just showed you guys. Just a tiny little bit of pressure. Then I'm going to tap here with this piece of brass. It's not moving. I'm going to pull on it. Not moving. All right. A little something over here, maybe on this side. A little bit of pressure. There, she just popped. All right, so if you would have seen, I had that gap in here earlier. So now it's moved enough where the gap is gone. So hopefully I didn't mess up this nut, because on the other machine I could put the nut all the way on. The condenser looks the same. The points, they don't look horrible. And then actually it doesn't look too much different. So this right here is your speed setting. That looks new for some reason. I've had this engine for 20 years. I don't know. I never changed it. It's a new spring. Maybe before we got it, somebody had changed this. And this is an adjustment for your timing. So are your points. So I'm just going to go through the points here quick, do the same checks I did on the other engine, and then show you guys. All right, so one of the things, the first thing we checked for the timing, I went online, went to YouTube first, obviously like all of us do, and found a few things there. But then I went to flywheel-supply.com. This guy named Zach Northway had a really good kind of a step-by-step. So if you go to that flywheel-supply.com, just go there. That's where all the best information is. But he had talked about there's two screws in here, and the one being this is for the speed setting. This one is kind of setting your, I'll say your cam for your points. So he had suggested taking a nail and grinding it down. So I first ground the top. Yep, can you guys see in there? Ground the top flat, because this was like a textured one. This is a fancy nail. We use this for some other project. But anyway, so I go through and you guys will be able to see me flip this around so you guys can read it the right way. So 1 inch, 200 thousandths, and I'm off by a little bit, but I'm guessing it's probably close enough for the girls I go with. And so what you do is you take that and you use that setting to set the height of this screw here. So the last one, when I did the one that's actually on the wash machine, that was way off. It was actually too big. Now this one here looks like it's too small. So I'm going to take this, loosen up this jam nut, and then turn this screw out until the underside of this to this distance matches this nail. So let me get set up for that and show you guys how that works. So first things first, I got to get this little cover off. So just take a screwdriver here and kind of clean the, oh, I scratched it there. Clean the gunk out of the screw holes. It's like those screws have been off about 700,000 times. Ooh, she's tight. I'm pushing down, there you go, as I'm trying to turn. So I got that one moving, that one feels good. This one here, push down. I got it loose, okay, good. Okay, we got those loose. Didn't booger them up. So we'll take this cover off. A little easier to get at those screws that are underneath there, or the jam nuts. So this is an inspection you can do while it's on the machine, and then you can get at, like I said before, you can get at this knob right here is the speed setting. So I'm just going to give that a couple turns right off the bat. Turns in to make it go faster. That way we can always slow it back down, but to get it going. So I'm going to find the wrench for this, loosen it up, and then we can start adjusting the other screw. So now magically, you see I have the original Maytag working platform here. It was odd. It was built into an old barn nearby, but now it's here. Awesome. So like I said, this is the jam nut right here. Just gotta loosen that up a little bit. So loosen up the jam nut, and we got to go out with it. So this piece has to go up. So I got to move this jam nut up out of the way a little bit more, just because it's going to be going that direction. Now I take my fancy Twilight turquoise adjustment stand here. And I put this, and I can turn this top screw until we get to position where, and I'm putting the nail head kind of on the top so I can slip it in to that underside when I get close there. It's going kind of hard. We're gonna need a wrench. So the same 3/8 wrench that I used to get the jam nut off. I said just get this up in there. And like I said, this is a little bit short, so this nail should fit easily in there. It shouldn't be a tight fit. Okay, so there I've got it. Maybe a little bit more yet because I got it cocked a little bit in there. There you go. So that's a little bit more yet. All right, so now it's easily fitting in there. Maybe a little too easily. So we'll bring it down just a touch. There you go. So now that's tight in there, which is the opposite of what I just said. But let's just go with it. Just go with it. Pretend like I know what I'm doing. Okay. Now I jam this nut down. And then just because the jam nut may have moved some things around, I want to make sure. Yeah, so it's fitting somewhat easily in there. It's a little bit sticky in times. You know, like I said, it's a handmade on the grinder tool that Zach Northway mentioned we should use. So now that we got that set, listen, there's tension on this spring. I give that a couple turns in. We're gonna give that a couple turns back out. It seems like it's way too strong now. I just wanted to have a little bit of tension on it, and I think now that I move this other piece out, that's going to change things around substantially. Lock down. Now we'll put this back on, and we'll check and see kind of when the points open up. That's the next big thing to be checking. So we just put the flywheel back on, and these points are not opening up at all. And when I went to that website, he mentioned that if this screw here isn't in the middle of the range, you got to check something else. So I think what's happening is that arm that comes around that moves this is so far set in that it can't even actuate this. So I'm going to take this jam nut here, loosen it up, move this screw back till where it's in about the mid-range, and then put the flywheel back on and see if it'll help move that piece there. So let me get set up for that and show you guys. So now I've got a 1/4 inch wrench. I'm going to move this jam nut. Like a lot of stuff moved right there. That wasn't intended. Seems like that shouldn't move that easily. Oh well. So we get this jam nut loosened up. And it looks like the threads were a little bit boogered up when I got up to right about there. Nice. So let's get this back down to where we're in that mid-range. May have to find another 1/4 inch wrench and try to power on through that messed up thread there. It's probably not a good idea. There's probably a better way to do that, but I don't have any dies here to cut that. Let me see if I can find another inappropriate tool here to move that. So don't scream too loud on the other end of the screen, but I'm going to hold it with this and see if I can power through the boogered up threads here a little bit. Okay, they're not boogered up that bad. They're going fairly easily. The right tool for the job is always the vice grips. Needle nose, because you don't want to break anything. It's like when I'm whacking things with that piece of brass. Brass never wrecks anything, right? Okay, so here we go. So we get this needle nose in here. Now I'm going to bring this one here back down until we're, let's see, mid-range. I'm going to go a couple more threads here. Like I said, I had this engine running 20 years ago out in the backyard. I don't know where we got it from. I know I played around with it as a kid. All right, so now let's put the flywheel back on and see if we can get that to move this time. This was difficult before, trying to get the flywheel on lined up with the key. Not it. There we go. Okay, so now if we flip this thing around, I should be starting to see the points open up at some point here. Okay, now we're getting the points to at least open. I'm gonna come around the back here, Mr. Director, and get a light right down in here. The points are back in here. Now when you kick the thing over, it's gonna go this way. So when it comes around now, this is usually the one time where you can start to see it. So can you get your light way down in there, bud? There you go, okay. Right on those two little pieces right there.
There.
Super. Okay, and then as we go, and it's hard to see because it's behind all the other junk in there, but I think right about now it should start to be opening. Apparently not. All right. So let's go around one more time. I swear to God, I saw them open earlier. Oops. You guys definitely can't see. There we go. Okay, so right there, they're starting to open. Can you see in there? Let me get the focuser. There you go. And I'll watch the points. See how, right there. See it's starting to open? So that's where you want to check your gap. You should have 20 thousandths there. And what that should be, when that's starting to open, okay, now see if we can go over here to the, can you get a light down in there? I think it's going to be really difficult to see. Well, you can kind of see let me get this over here. Okay. So you kind of see the piston in there. The same time when that point is starting to open, this piston should be not at top dead center, but it should be just starting to get to top dead center. So if you guys can see down in there, that's the piston. Can you hold on to this here? Hold on to the flashlight. There you go. Right in the hole. There you go. So you see how it has a little bit more to go yet? That's exactly where you want that point to start opening up. So I'm going to measure what we got here, some feeler gauges, and then I'll let you know what we're at. And I'm back. So we got an 8 thousandths and a 12 thousandths. 20 thousandths. Now this is the pain in the butt of the thing. You got to get it to a point where it's starting, or the points are open. And I don't think this is going to be anywhere near close enough. And I will not be able to get you guys in there to see what's going on. I'm sure there's a better set of feeler gauges to be using for this. But again, this engine was way off. Assuming what I'm doing is right. So right now I'd say we're loose. These 20 thousandths don't quite hit both sides of the gap here, so let me see here. Sorry, I take that back. Looks like I'm moving the top movable point a little bit as I'm putting it in. This means I gotta go a little bit wider with this gap. So what I should be able to do now is get right down in there, and I should be able to, since I didn't jam the thing down yet, I can make the gap a little bigger. This is probably the beauty of this hole being in here. I'm gonna give it a couple turns. I don't know how many we need. So that was like 3 wrench flats worth. Now I'm gonna try to get back down in there again. Now it looks like I'm way too wide. I shouldn't have went 3 wrench flats worth. Let me make sure we're on a full open point. There we go. And this is different from that Jaeger I was showing you guys. This is a 2-stroke, so this is a different setup. That was again too much gap. So let me go back a flat and a half here. Get my feeler gauges in there. And there's just a light drag. And they said 18 to 22 is probably fine, so I'm gonna guess that's good. I like to go against myself. So let me give it another little bit of a tightening. Anyway, so you just kind of fiddle around with it till you get to where your gap in between the 2 points is at 20 thousandths. Now the other thing that's supposed to be at 20 thousandths is a spark plug. Now this looks like a Model T spark plug to me, like it's the same type of spark plug. Champion, whatever you want to call it, Champion's X. Yeah, so this looks like a Model T style. Anyway, so you could probably buy it. You can buy more of these. I'll likely buy one if I'm going to stick around playing with this thing. And this should be 20 thousandths as well. And this wire isn't really I don't know. The gap is the gap, I guess, but it's not how I would like to see it. And I say that's a strong 20 thousandths. So maybe I'll just tap this a little bit to bend it a little bit closer. Yeah, there's a little bit there. I can tap it on probably like the workbench or something. Let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, so the next thing, I just did the spark plug. We got that somewhat 20 thousandths-ish. So this should all be set. Now what I want to do is, this is jammed down, this is the speed. We're going to pull this whole thing off. And now we're going to look at the jam nut on here. So I want to hold, with the proper tool for the job, I want to hold this one and then jam this other one down so it doesn't move anymore. And that was a big change. It was a big adjustment. So now it looks like it's not quite, yeah, I don't know why that's all moving. I think these bolts here must be loose. So what I'm just trying to do is align the movable one to the non-movable one. And it's been my experience with points, probably not a bad idea to grab a piece of cardboard. I think it's another thing that on that Flywheeler's website, he just uses a piece of cardboard, paper, and just kind of use that to, look at all that gunk. You guys see all the blackness on there? So that's dirt that felt a little gritty. So I'm just gonna kind of polish it using the paper. Don't let that floating globe of light really turn you guys off to the situation here. It's just my cameraman here is all right. So we got most of the gunk off. Kind of looking down in there, they don't look horrible. I've seen better, I've seen worse. So now the other test that I want to do, I went through and I did. I want to check some continuities of that coil. So let me grab my multimeter and show you guys how that works. So the next test, the flywheel guy said, just get your multimeter, set it on ohms, and you want to check between the spark plug lead and ground. Now he mentioned the using just the metal of the coil. So we've got 0.84, it's kind of bouncing around, 84, 0.82, somewhere in there on that one. So the next thing you got to do is compare that to the connecting from the spark plug lead to the open end over here, but you got to pull the capacitor off. So let me get a screwdriver and pull that off quick. There's a screw on this side right here that goes to the capacitor. If I can get it loose. Oh, jeepers. There we go. Okay, we broke it loose. Pull this screw out. Pull it out of here because I'm sitting on top of a bin of fuel. All right, so that's not touching anything now. So now this fixed end of the points is open. So I believe he said it was okay to leave the plug wires to the point without the condenser in there. And that should be about the same. I don't remember what the other numbers were, so hopefully you guys remember. So let me hook this. So we're still on the spark plug lead, which isn't touching anything else. Now I'm going to hook it onto here. 0.74. That's different. He said it shouldn't be too much different. Nope, I guess not. My memory is not great. I think that's probably close enough. So that to me would mean that the coil, from what I can read, that means this coil is good. Okay, so that's good news. That's one of the ignition system checks. And these points right here are mounted. I don't have the block. If you watch his video, there's a block that kind of nests in here, and then this sets in a certain spot. And that's how you're supposed to set the timing, is kind of where this plate is. So if you're messing with one of these, don't take this plate off unless you've got some way to tell how to put it exactly back on the same spot. There's a little block, it looks like a capital E with a bunch of whatever. Maybe I'll try to get a picture and throw it up here, but that's how you set the timing. So don't mess with that unless you absolutely have to, and then if you do, you're going to have to buy one of those blocks to retime it. So now the next test that I want to do is, it was actually from Shop Dog Sam on YouTube. Coil, if you search for coil and condenser test in Maytag, you'll find it. But let me grab my 6-volt battery and I'll be back here to show you what he does. All right, let me run you through this awesome setup here. So you want to have these points open with a piece of cardboard. And I've got a sweet setup here. It's an old crummy battery with the positive going to the fixed point plate with this very electrically conductive clamping system. Using the battery charger leads as my clamps on the wire side. So now I've got that one hooked up to the positive hooked up to the fixed plate. Got the points open. Let me set you guys up so you can see again. Points open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scratch the other end of this on the movable point blade. And what I need to do is I need to have this roughly a 1/4 inch away from the block. So I'm going to try to use this spark plug here. So if you guys can see over there, put it over here so you can see. There should be, when I scratch this on the movable section, we should see a spark here, or you should see me pee my pants from being electrocuted. Definitely a spark there. Oh yeah, we're getting good spark. So that to me, if you look over by the spark plug, see that spark? That is a good spark. I'm happy with that. So I think that means that from, hold on, let me connect up. I think you got to have the condenser back on. So that means that that part's good. But let me get the condenser wire back in here. That was my bad. First time I made a mistake today. Of course, it's early. It's a coil and condenser test. So it doesn't mean the points are any good, but it would mean that the coil and condenser work as expected. So let me get this, because I think this condenser, I don't know, usually condensers are what go bad, but let's see how this looks here. So let me get this back on. Hopefully I didn't wreck anything. We'll see. So you get this condenser lead back on. Good and tight. You want to make sure that these wires too, that they're not, the wires over here aren't out so far that they hit the magnets on the flywheel. I think we're good here. Let me just push this one in just a little bit more, loosen this up, and just give it a, there we go. You also don't want it to ground out, but I just want to make sure I don't hit anything. We'll check with the flywheel on. All right, so now we check this again. Okay, so sorry, that was my bad. So back to here. Now if we can get this on the movable point end, and I get this here where I can see a 1/4 inch spark. Yep, that's a really good spark. I'm very happy with that spark. So now we'll put this back together and see if we can't get it fired up.
We had a little bit of finagling around to get it started, but it seems to be running decent now. I put a towel on the backside. It's kind of a partial choke for the cold weather. So I think it may need some additional work before it can be used in washing machine operation. Also no exhaust pipe on this one. I'm going to cover your ears. Find something to have fun.